Welcome back. One of my students saw the last video, wonderful deep yogi. He said, every once in a while I hear that meditation is an escape. Why are you doing meditation? Are you running away from life? You're escaping from life. Isn't that an escape from life? So I want to answer that today and show you that psychology and deep meditation are actually very, very aligned, and that you can use both very well to accomplish a very valuable and meaningful life. So let's get into it. Now, I can see somebody coming in to a psychologist maybe 50 years ago and explaining that I don't really want to do anything with my life. I don't want to change myself. I just want to meditate, and I'm running away from everything. I don't need to go and do that. I don't need to go that. I'm just going to pretend that the sun is shining every moment of my life. Everything is perfect. Everything is glorious. I'm not actually going to work on myself to actually realize these things. I'm just going to assume that shape in the hope that it somehow penetrates into me through the process of meditation. And of course, the psychologist is going to look at that. He's going to say, well, you're not doing the actual work. You're not doing the actual transformation. And so a psychologist, maybe 50 years ago, he maybe looks at that and he says, I think that meditation fits in this category that I have for drugs and alcohol, that this person is merely running away from life and it's an escapism. I could understand that 50 years ago. I could even understand it 40, 30, even 20 years ago. I could understand that from a psychologist. But today, to hear that today, I think it's going to be very rare. Or if you do hear it from a psychologist, I think it is irresponsible, because there's so much data and so much information on the benefits of meditation. And here we study a very specific form of meditation, which is heart rate variability breathing. Why do we do that? Because we know that it lowers the breath rate, which lowers the heart rate, which puts you into the low idle state and creates this parasympathetic awakening. That's that system in the body of relaxation, healing, and deep peace, right? And so we're awakening that in our lives. And you can't look at that. You can't look at that and say, this is bad. You can't say that this is escapism. So if you go sit down on your bed or sit down on a chair and you practice 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of heart rate variability breathing, and you lower your breath rate and you lower your heart rate and you go into a low idle state and you feel the freeze response, and now you're supercharged your meditation, you have lowered your cortisol level. That's the stress hormone. So these are, we can go in before and then come out after, and we can measure the lowered cortisol from doing meditation every day. And so now we have a very scientific basis for practicing meditation. The yogis love to say that the less we breathe, the longer we live. And that makes sense if you think about your body as a vehicle. If you put your car and you wax it very nice and you put a cover over it and you put it in the garage, that car, if you don't overuse it, it's going to last a very long time. They're always finding these really old cars and they open it up and they shine it up and the car is just great. It's been preserved in a garage forever. Well, that's a perfectly low idle state, isn't it? So the more that we let our body enter into this low idle state, and that reflects on the mind, right? So the mind slows down. And when the mind slows down, the body slows down even more. So we go into this really restful state, right? That's going to preserve your car. You're going to get longevity out of this. And that's exactly what the studies on heart rate variability residents talk about. They're looking at this in insurance companies to see if they can use it, which I'm sure they can, to measure longevity. So if somebody has a better heart rate variability resonance in their day-to-day life, are they going to live longer? Absolutely. That's exactly what the yogis were talking about. You breathe less and you live longer. So now you have reduced cortisol, you have a parasympathetic awakening, the system of healing and rejuvenation, and you have increased longevity through heart rate variability resonance. Right off the bat, humongous gains from practicing meditation. Very physical, very scientific, very verifiable. And that's what the four proofs are all about. We want to go into the heart rate variability resonance and then check to see if we have the four proofs. If we do, we know if you have any of them. If the hands are hot and heavy, if the lips are tingling, if you feel that dorsal vagal pressure, if the skin starts to tingle, we know we're in a parasympathetic response. We are doing the meditation correctly. Hallelujah. You know that you are getting benefit right then and there from your meditation. It's like, I'm not going as deep as I would like to. Well, we would all like to go deeper, but you are awakening your parasympathetic. It is working. So with all of those obvious benefits, which are very, very verifiable and scientific, I think it's kind of irresponsible to say that all meditation would be an escape. I think it's very, very outdated. And so if you're hearing that, you're probably hearing it from somebody who studied psychology 50 years ago. And so it's time for them to update because the research clearly shows a benefit. The main ones, the easiest ones being cortisol reduction, parasympathetic awakening, which is what creates the cortisol reduction, and the increased longevity from the heart rate variability resonance, which ties in with the parasympathetic awakening. So it's all about the parasympathetic. How do we awaken that parasympathetic? Really easy. Amol, right? Amol. Always make the out-breath longer. That one tiny little thing is a great way to begin to understand heart rate variability resonance. Get yourself into it. Use the Resonance app, right? The Resonance breathing app. Use that. Get the breath which is comfortable for you. Try it out. Get yourself into the parasympathetic and start noticing those four proofs. Prove to yourself that you can awaken your parasympathetic system. Now you have verifiable proof in yourself. You don't have to hear it from anybody else. You don't have to look at it on a monitor. You don't have to check any numbers. You feel it. You feel the difference. And that means it's all the more relevant to you, to your meditation. You are achieving success. So it's a very positive, meditation in this way is a very positive action. And so if you're a psychologist and you have, I know about psychologists that are using meditation, and heart rate variability resonance is such a great and easy way to get somebody. I can sit down with somebody for 5 minutes and help them to notice the four proofs while doing resonant breathing. It's so easy. It's so easy way to get into meditation and start getting the benefits. And then it's obvious that this is not escapism. This is a reset for your life. This is a reset for your body. Psychology is very interested in meaning. I mean, if you're going to go to a psychologist, what's it for? We're going to straighten ourselves out. We're going to realign ourselves. We're going to get rid of our old baggage. Hopefully, we're going to move forward in our lives in a positive direction, and we're going to create meaning. We're going to take on responsibility for ourselves, for our family, and that increased responsibility gives us more meaning. So it all comes down to meaning. Well, what part of the brain holds meaning? You know, don't you? Because you've been watching my channel, right? The part of the brain that holds meaning in our lives is the right brain, the right hippocampus. And in deep meditation, we begin to touch on the right hippocampus through becoming very, very quiet. That awakens the right brain. Through opening up into expansion, we touch on and awaken the right brain. And so automatically we come out of meditation and we feel different. We get this sensation every once in a while, I've been reborn, because you touch on the right and you escape from the left brain. And in that moment, you are rejuvenated. And so you have these yogis and you have these Christians coming out and they say, I'm born again. I actually feel that way. It's an experience in meditation. And so now you come out and you look at your life and everything is kind of washed. Everything is new. It's like the spring again in your life. Everything's been washed and is growing anew. And suddenly you're filled with all of this inspiration. Well, that inspiration didn't come from nowhere. It came from the right brain. So in touching on the right brain, in going deep in meditation, in quieting the body, which quiets the mind, we touch on the right brain. And that's what allows that inspiration in our lives to spring forth, where we feel like we're rejuvenated, we're brand new, coming out, reborn. That's where all that is coming from. That inspiration. The word inspiration, in spirit. Spirit is in you. It comes from, it's a religious term, inspiration. It's the spirit is in you. I see it inside of you. That inspiration is coming out. You have touched the deep spirit of the right brain, your higher self, and you're full of that inspiration. And so the very thing that the psychologists are pointing you towards, which is more meaning in your life, well, we find it in deep meditation. The other thing that I talk a lot about is Om Japa in the chakras, right? We go into the chakra, for example, the heart chakra, and we chant Om into the heart chakra. The 6 chakras, from the medulla down to the coccyx, those 6 chakras, I go inside and I chant Om and I blow it up mentally, a mental Om into the chakra, and it cleans out the chakra. It's a projection from the brain, okay? So don't freak out, psychologists, if you're watching this. It's a projection from the limbic brain. And we have these experiences in life where we're going through life and we feel this cold pit of fear in our stomach. That's a projection from the right amygdala, the center of doom. It's projecting down into the body. And so when we chant Om into that, we help to wash it out and reduce the amount of negative effects from the brain. So all of the things that we have problems with, they start to shrink because we are practicing this secret technology inside of the projections that are coming from the brain. And that's what causes that cleaning out and transformation slowly over time. And so Kriya is a kind of therapy. But even if you weren't doing Om Japa in your chakras and you're only doing heart rate variability resonance, that is going to lower the cortisol, it's going to lower the heart rate, it's going to lower the breath rate, the mind will become slower and you will think more clearly. And because of that, you will make more connections. And those connections will clear things up for you. So the things that you couldn't see in your life, the things that were confusing, the things that you had problems with, you're going to go, oh my God, I see it clearly for the first time, and I can let go of all that baggage. I don't need to carry that awful weight on my shoulders all the time. What was I doing? What was I thinking? I wasn't thinking clearly, and now I can see clearly because I have entered into the low idle state. So all of that is therapy, and it's very much parallel to the kind of therapy that you do with a psychologist or a psychiatrist. They are helping you to clean yourself out, to let go of the past and move forward in your life in a positive, self-owned direction. It's very much in line. Meditation and psychology go hand in hand. Meditation is its own form of psychology. And that's why a lot of psychologists love Buddhism, because it's such a wonderful form of psychology. So meditation translates perfectly into its own form of psychology. And it's asking you to look at the world in a very particular way that can help you to transform and take your life more easily, take it less seriously, take it more seriously in some areas, less seriously in other areas, to do the things that you can do positively and let go of the things that you don't have control over. Doesn't that sound good? It's very good. It's not escapism. One form of extreme escapism is disassociation. Some spiritual practices ask you to step away, right? They ask you to back up and step away from things. And sometimes we term that as if it's a disassociation. And it is a little bit, but it's not a negative disassociation. So what usually happens in a negative disassociation is that there's something bad in our lives and our mind is running away from them. And so we can't face this bad stuff in our lives. So we run away from it. And so we're not cleaning it up. We're not changing it. We're not transforming it. We're not moving on. We're not letting go. We're not doing any of those things. It's just sitting there and we're running away from it. And we basically continuously distract ourselves. We look over here. We look over there. We don't look at this thing. The elephant in the room, we're not going to look at it, right? That is negative disassociation. And when somebody's deep into that, I was amazed. When somebody is deep into that, you cannot do timeline therapy. When you are that distracted from yourself and you have turned away from yourself, you cannot associate with your emotions. And so the very first thing that somebody, which is very, very, I'm really escaping from everything, right? I'm running, it's way too much. I can't do it. And I'm running away from it. The very first thing that person has to do is turn back towards and look at the hard stuff. Doesn't mean you have to jump down in it, but you have to look back and transform it or move past it or think about it and be okay with it and move on with your life. And so the first process is to be here now. And that's what you do when you lower the heart rate through heart rate variability resonance and you get into that low L state. You automatically begin to be here now. And so you begin to look at yourself and the hard stuff. And through the process of Om Japa, we begin to clean that out. Or maybe we just write in our diary, this is how I feel, this is how it's going. And we begin to clean it out. Or maybe we try the timeline therapy walkthrough that I have on this channel. I have several of them. You can walk through those and start to let go of some of this junk, right? From the past that we all have. We all have junk from our past and we carry it around like this burden. I want to show you. Look what you did to me. This is what I have to carry now. And eventually it's like, who am I doing this for? I don't need this. And we just let it go, right? But it takes facing it, and that's what creates the transformation over time. Very nice. And slowly we grow up, we get stronger, we get bigger, and we say, so what? Who goes through their life and doesn't have this kind of junk, right? Whatever it is. Okay, I'm over it. Let it go. Get on past it. Walk on. Don't worry about it. I did my best. I did my very, very best. I'm doing my best right now. And I have to let go of this. I have to move forward in a positive direction with my life. So what I'm showing you is that meditation is a process not of escapism. It's actually the entire opposite. We are being here now, and we force ourselves to process the negative content slowly over time. And we have a lot of tools for that. We have Om Japa in the chakras. We have the low idle state. You start feeling really good. You have blissful moments, and you have this timeline therapy. All of these things are helping you to clean out the past easily and effortlessly. And that clarity of mind, right? You're in the low idle state and the clarity of mind comes over you. And you look at that and you go, oh my God, I get it. Oh my God, it makes so much sense now. I totally get it. And that lets you let go and move on. And isn't that glorious? So you're not just creating a little me, and you're not just getting a little piece. Meditation has the potential to be extremely transformative and almost outclass psychology. So you're going to have in psychology, you're going to have these moments where you go, oh my God, I get it. You have these aha moments, right? Well, those increase through the process of meditation. You get closer to the right brain, which is, a spatial connector. It's a multi-processor. And so these aha moments, they start increasing. They don't decrease, they start increasing. So it is more in line with therapy. So I've said that Kriya Yoga is continuous therapy. It's designed to be a continuous therapy. So my teacher, Ashok Singh, he said, when you go out in the world and something happens and you feel a negative emotion, don't just, don't waste yourself. Take a moment and go, Om, mentally into that negative emotion, and it will simmer that emotion down. It will kind of start to disintegrate very slowly. You do it again and again and again. Well, you can be anywhere. You can be in an office. You can be talking to your loved one. Something comes up. You're like, oh my God, I don't like this. I'm going to ohm into that thing. Just ohm into it. And he told me, and just snuff it out. And just snuff it out right from the beginning. Just snuff it right out. I'll never forget that. He's in his driveway and he's telling me, just snuff it right out. I'll never forget it. So that is the idea of the Om Japa in the chakras. And when he told me that, I really got it. I grokked it, right? And I'm like, oh, this is Kriya therapy. And you can do that all day, every day, and clean yourself out, and you'll be much more relaxed and able to think clearly, and so process the things that are in your life that you need to process, and so let them go and be more transformed and more clear and more meaningful more often. So is meditation escapism? Absolutely not. It is the polar opposite. Can it be used wrongly? Absolutely. You can use anything. You can use psychology as a form of escapism from life. But is that the point of meditation? Is that using it correctly and rightly? Absolutely not. It's the exact polar opposite. So what are some benefits of meditation? I made a list and I put this on Patreon. So if you look way back on Patreon, it's in there, but here's the list. Reduced cortisol, increased vagal tone, parasympathetic balance, increasing clarity, sense of well-being, increased longevity, deep sleep, easier inspiration, increased intuition, emotional coherence and stability, lowered blood pressure, increased creativity, subconscious integration, lowered negative emotions, intuitive leaps, increased focus, metaphysical freedom, release from the word mind. That's the left brain, right? Release from the body schema, release from bodily impressions, freeze response enjoyment. Oh my God, it's so great. Body bliss of the caudate nucleus, big bliss of the left amygdala, high intellect mental bliss, and expansive resonance. All right, there's just, it's just so much. It's so great. I'm obviously the very biggest fan of meditation, right? So I hope that gives you an idea, and it gives you somewhat of a response to somebody with, is meditation a form of escapism? No, of course not. Can somebody use it wrongly? Absolutely. You can use psychology to escape from life and just become a continuous victim. So the hallmark of a good psychologist is you become transformed and you feel more and more clean and clear in your life. And that tells you that you're heading in the right direction. So I hope that you loved this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you.